Satyamayi Parame Satyam Jnanam Satyam Jnanam Jyotir Aravinda Satyam Jnanam Satyam Jnanam Jyotir Aravinda Satyam Jnanam Satyam Jnanam Jyotir Aravinda Jyotir Aravinda Jyotir Aravinda. So the topic today is freedom from pain. So usually what causes us pain is people around us, by and large. By and large, our interactions with people cause us pain, or so we think. But there is some wisdom in what Sri Aurobindo says, that wherever there is ignorance, there suffering too must come. We've gone into that line several times, right? That wherever there is ignorance, there suffering too must come. So we think our pain is caused by our interactions, by what people tell us. But is it possible that really it's our ignorance that causes us pain? If you squeeze lemons, what will come out? Which juice? If you squeeze oranges, what will come out? Orange juice. So when life squeezes you, what's inside you will come out. So you can't blame the hand that squeezes you. If you have reactivity, if you have some scars of jealousy, resentment, when life squeezes you, that's what comes out, right? If you didn't have it inside you, it wouldn't come out. Something else would come out, right? So in fact, we need to be grateful for the hands that squeeze us, because then we see what's inside us, it comes out, and we have a chance to change it, right? So now, how do we go through and reach the ignorance that causes us suffering? What is that fundamental ignorance? And we can talk about it till the end of the world, but we won't be any wiser. It's best to read Mother and Sri Aurobindo's words, because the way they write, they transmit experience and vibrations just through their writing. So we just go to their words, okay? This is Sri Aurobindo's words from Life Divine. Behind, there must be something in us much vaster, profounder, truer than the superficial consciousness, the hurting, inconstant self in front. That's the superficial consciousness. But Sri Aurobindo says there must be something in us much vaster, profounder, truer than the superficial consciousness, which takes delight impartially in all experiences. Can we believe this? There must be something in us which takes delight even in that person's rude behavior, even in that whatever. There must be something in us, Sri Aurobindo tells us, which secretly supports the superficial mental being and enables it to persevere through all labors, sufferings, and ordeals in the agitated movement of the becoming. That which we call ourselves is only a trembling ray on the surface. Behind is all the vast subconscient, the vast superconscient, profiting by all these surface experiences and imposing them on its external self, which it exposes as a sort of sensitive covering to the contacts of the world. Itself veiled, it receives these contacts, assimilates them into values of a truer, a profounder, a mastering and creative experience. Out of its depths, it returns them to the surface in forms of strength, character, knowledge, impulsion, whose roots are mysterious to us because our mind moves and quivers on the surface and has not learned to concentrate itself and live in its depths. Greek and Latin, or made sense? Made little sense? Okay, so what Sri Aurobindo is saying, never mind if it made sense or not, you'll see that if you listen attentively to his words, something in you will start feeling solaced and better, even if intellectually you don't understand everything. So what he's saying is, we are this surface being, he calls it the trembling ray on the surface, and he says behind this there is the deeper truth of what we are. Behind it is the truth of the subconscious frequencies below the waking state, the superconscious frequencies above the waking state, and all this that is behind makes use of every experience we are having it on the surface and transforms it to strength of character, compassion, wideness, which is why whenever we go through a painful experience, very often we come out of it changed. We come out of it wiser, more compassionate. And if somebody asks you, how did you change? You don't really know it. But something inside you deeper than you makes use of all the pain and returns it to the surface in a way that you profit from it. So very often when we are going through pain, we feel, what's the point? It's so meaningless, it's so unnecessary, but it's never unnecessary. Because as those lines in Savitri go, if the heart was not forced to want and weep, man would lay down content at his start and never, I'm not saying it verbatim, but something to the effect that never try to reach the sun. Man would never grow if pain wasn't there. So we've done this ad nauseum in our classes. We don't have to feel small because of pain. We have to cherish the pain life sends, not invite it, but if it comes, cherish it, learn from it. Life will never send us more pain than what's good for our growth. So instead of shrinking when pain comes, we should know that it's come because it has a purpose for us. There's a meaning in every curve and line, right? Sri Aurobindo says in Savitri. So there's a meaning in every curve and line of pain also. So instead of fighting the people who cause us pain, the real fight is with that trigger inside us which arises, is that impulse inside us which gets triggered by the person. Because you can't stop triggers, right? They'll keep coming. If not this person today, tomorrow somebody else. Some life will never allow us to have a no trigger state, right? But the point is, how do we not get triggered inside? One is by remembering that whatever pain comes to us, it's not unnecessary. There's something behind me which will make use of the pain so that I'll come out richer for it. And let me collaborate with that something inside me which is working with my pain. Instead of wasting my energies fighting the person, let me sit with my pain, let me work on the triggers. That's a more onward leading path, right? But we get so lost in blaming the person, fighting the person, trying to prove the person they are wrong, we are right. It's a meaningless thing. It's more important to see what inside you is reacting and resolve that next time let the same trigger come, but I'll find a way not to react. And that whole way how not to react with the mother's help is what our talk today is about. So, if we learn to live within, we infallibly awaken to this presence within us, which is our more real self, a presence profound, calm, joyous and puissant, powerful, of which the world is not the master. A presence which, if it is not the Lord Himself, is a radiation of the Lord within. So if we learn to live within ourselves, we will inevitably discover a presence within us, which is our more real self, a presence profound, calm, joyous and puissant, of which the world is not the master. A presence which, if it is not the Lord Himself, is the radiation of the Lord within. We are aware of it within, supporting and helping the apparent and superficial self, and smiling at its pleasures and pains as at the error and passion of a little child. And if we can go back into ourselves, so there's something within us which just smiles at all our sorrows and pains, like at the tricks of a little child. And if we can go back into ourselves and identify ourselves not with our superficial experience, but with that radiant penumbra. Penumbra is a half-lit shadow, not a fully dark shadow. With that radiant penumbra of the divine, we can live in that attitude towards the contacts of the world and standing back in our entire consciousness from the pleasures and pains of the body, vital being and mind, possess them as experiences whose nature, being superficial, does not touch or impose itself on our core and real being. So what Sri Aurobindo is saying is that we have this presence inside us, and the more we live in it, we source our joy and peace and sustenance from it. If we aren't in touch with it, we are waiting for the world and its contacts to make us happy, isn't it? And if the world and its contacts don't make us happy, we start feeling miserable, because our source of joy is the world outside. But the more you start living within you and more you discover this self-existent joy and peace that the mother's presence inside us is, the less you're dependent on the outside. The less you're dependent on the outside, the less power the outside has to hurt you, isn't it? The mother says the world can hurt you only in proportion to how much you belong to the outer world. The more you belong to the mother, to the divine, the less the world can hurt you, because you're not so invested into it. Only a person you're hugely invested in has the power to hurt you, right? And that's the mistake we make by investing ourselves so much in these 2 or 3 people in life. But Mother has clearly said, no human being is ever going to be there for you. Get that very clearly. Only the divine is for you if you are for the divine. Every human being will let you down. Human beings are imperfect. Don't expect perfection from them. Every human being is designed to hurt you, to give you pain, not because human beings are bad, but because that also is part of the Leela. That pain they give you is the lever which makes you climb and grow. So don't get baffled when they give you pain. Expect it. Without hating them, without rejecting them, still receiving them in love and staying anchored in the divine. You're sourcing everything from the divine. So human beings beyond the point won't matter that much. There's that beautiful line in Rudyard Kipling's poem, If all men count with you, but none too much. Every man is worthy of respect, even the house help, everyone is. So all men should count with you, everyone is God. So treat everyone nicely, treat everyone with kindness. But no man should count too much. That's the problem. If all men count with you, but none too much. So, we go ahead. This is from Essays on the Gita by Sri Aurobindo. We must attain that absolute peace and stillness from which we become aware of the calm, motionless, blissful self within us, which is eternally untroubled and unaffected by the touches of things, is sufficient to itself, and finds there alone its eternal satisfaction. The self is a self-existent being. It is not limited by a personal existence. It is the same in all existence, pervasive, equal to all things, supporting the whole universal action with its infinity, but unlimited by all that is finite, unmodified by the changings of nature and personality. So, Sri Aurobindo is saying that the more we learn to live within, we find this self which is calm, motionless, which is never changed by the changing outside, which never loses its peace. But very often, even if we feel it, and if we are here this evening, all of us have felt it at some point or the other. But we are very quick to let the outside draw us away from it. We are very quick to give it away for something inferior, right? So Rumi says it so beautifully. Men fancy that they are enjoying themselves, but they are really plucking out their wings for the sake of an illusion. So we are plucking out our wings for the sake of an illusion, wings which will fly. If we are anchored in the inside, we have wings to fly. But we are very quick to give that away for the sake of an illusion. Every person we are attached to is an illusion, right? That person doesn't exist. It's just mother wearing a mask, and a mask which will go on changing. It's a quicksilver mask. If we get attached to that instant of the mask, we are in for trouble, because the mask will go on changing, and if we get attached to its form and appearance in the moment, it's not going to last. We did this last class where the mother says that things look permanent to you, but they are changing all the time. And it's the Lord who's controlling the change. His law in the universe is making everything change. So if everything is changing and I get attached to something beautiful in the moment and want it to keep repeating, it's not going to recur and I'm going to be miserable. So don't get attached to forms in the outside. Get attached to that which will give you a long-term dividend. The outside has no dividend to really give you. So, Mother says, you know, my child, from the beginning of the world, the Supreme had only one purpose, to use all energies for one single aim, that each one may find his soul. So beautiful. I mean, Mother says an ocean in one sentence. She says from the beginning of the world, God had only one aim, to use everything so that each becoming of his may discover his soul. So everything in the world is conspiring to take you to the great discovery. Even the person who's causing you pain, every circumstance, it's all being used by the Lord in his Leela to take you closer to your soul, without exception. So can you really apply this? You've had maybe an unpleasant argument with a family member today just before coming, maybe yesterday, day before, can you reconcile the fact that even that is being used by the Lord to bring you closer to your soul? Can you? Can you? Further, this is from Letters on Yoga by Sri Aurobindo. When we are in contact with the divine or in contact with an inner knowledge and vision, we begin to see all the circumstances of our life in a new light and can observe how they all tended without our knowing it towards the growth of our being and consciousness, towards the work we had to do, towards some development that had to be made. Not only what seemed good, fortunate, or successful, but the struggles, failures, difficulties, upheavals. But with each person, the guidance works differently according to his nature, the conditions of his life, his caste of consciousness, his stage of development, his need of further experience. We are not automata like robots, but conscious beings, and our mentality, our will, its decisions, our attitude to life and demand on it, our motives and movements help to determine our course. They may lead to much suffering and evil, but through it all, the guidance makes use of them for our growth in experience, and consequently the development of our being and consciousness. All advance by however devious ways, even in spite of what seems a going backwards or going astray, gathering whatever experience is necessary for the soul's destiny. When we are in close contact with the divine, a protection can come in which helps or directly guides or moves us. It does not throw aside all difficulties, sufferings, or dangers, but it carries us through them and out of them, except where for a very special purpose there is the need of the opposite. So this passage simply endorses what we've discussed. Robert Adams' words, always remember, all is well, all is well, all is perfectly well. Never forget that. Do not think about it. Do not try to analyze it. Just accept it in your heart. All is well, period, end. Very difficult words said, and somewhere we recognize, but let's take a concrete situation. A friend, a family member, person you're very invested in behaves unreasonable, insensitive, callous towards you. How can I reconcile the thought that all is well? Robert Adams is saying, do not think about it, do not try to analyze it. But my mind is logical, I will analyze, I will look at it and say that yes, I was right, this was uncalled for. How can I say that all is well? Anyone?
For this situation,
Yeah.
when somebody says
which your logical mind is very clear that I did not do anything wrong, and that person is being unreasonable, insensitive, callous, whatever. How do I reconcile that all is well?
I'm not getting your question. If you're thinking of not really taking it in, that's possible.
No, but it's come in. It's already come in. Now what do? You're already hurt. Huh?
Human mind will always find reason to blame the other person.
Right.
Also, how do you say all is well is really you have to be very centered. I mean, it's difficult, but you just have
It's very difficult.
You have to have the mother's like
Mother's
affection in front
grace.
of you and control yourself, which sometimes works, but
Yes.
sometimes it doesn't work.
So one thing is you start with the mind. You know, it's beautifully said that your only consciousness in life, your only protection in life is your consciousness, right? What is the consciousness you're going to bring to the front when things hurt you? That is the question. Okay, I'm hurt. If I knew better, I wouldn't be hurt at all. But if I am hurt, what do I do? That's the question. So one thing is, understand that I have taken Mother and Sri Aurobindo as my guru. If I've taken them as my guru, I am committed to taking their words as an absolute truth. Am I not? Right? If they have said that every circumstance in my life happens only for my highest good, then can I remember that this person's callous behavior, rude behavior, unnecessary behavior is also for my good somewhere? Then I remember Mother has also said that every human being is me wearing a mask. She said that. I can't believe it, but she's my guru. I believe it. Varun, why don't you get him a chair from the kitchen? You will get a backache. That's not a right. Get him a chair from the kitchen. Okay. So, Mother has said that everyone is me wearing a mask. So, can I wrap my mind around the thought that it's Mother and that person talking to me like this to bring out what's already ignorant and wrong inside me? And remember that, and so these two things, that every person is being used by the divine to give me the experience that's the best for my growth, and everyone is the Mother. So actually think about it. How many of you can think about an actual situation which is recent? Can you? Yeah? Can you actually, and you've been hurt, can you actually remember these two things? Isha, can you actually remember these two things? That everything is the Mother, this person too is the Mother wearing this mask, and the Mother behaved like this through the person to give me the experience I needed, to bring out this reactivity, this ignorance that caused the reactivity. Sri Aurobindo says, right, wherever there is ignorance, their suffering too must come. The person isn't responsible for my suffering. It's my ignorance which is responsible for, no, you'll hurt. Varun, shift her chair. No, you can't sit like that, you'll get a backache. Just move your chair this side. Varun, if you can make the cushions vertical, there'll be place, then she'll be able to see me. Or if you could go back and she could come forward, you're taller, you'll be able to see me. Yeah, just come forward. No, just come please come forward. Come forward. Okay. So, if you can actually think that this person is Mother wearing a silly mask, if you can actually allow yourself to think that the person, the Mother as the person, is giving me exactly the experience I need for my growth, and then if the hurt is too strong, it won't soften with that also, but at least it will soften you a little bit. But the real change will come if, when you're hurting, you just go inside, you connect with the Mother, you feel her. The moment you start feeling her, the clouds will start lifting. And when you come out of it, you'll wonder, what was I so hurt about. It's really nothing. Your whole perspective on the thing will change when you're not viewing it with your surface mind but from the depths within.
How do you like feel this if it's happening again and again with the same person?
So if it's happening again and again, life is giving you a chance again and again to conquer the same reactivity. Till you keep reacting, the same triggers will come again and again, because life wants you to conquer your reactivity. The less reactive you get in the face of the same triggers, you'll see automatically the triggers will diminish. Or even if they don't, it won't matter to you because you're not reacting.
The only thing which has worked for me is to think of that person as mother.
Yeah. Not the only thing, one of the things. Yeah. Okay, so we come to, let's read this passage again. This universal love is liberative and dynamic for transformation. For the discord of forms and appearances ceases to affect the heart that has felt the one truth behind them all and understood their perfect significance. What is the heart that has understood one truth behind them all? Understood that everything without exception is the mother. The impartial equality of soul of the selfless worker and knower is transformed by the magic touch of divine love into an all-embracing ecstasy and million-bodied beatitude. All things become bodies and all movements the playthings of the divine beloved in his infinite house of pleasure. Even pain is changed, and in their reaction, and even in their essence, things painful alter. The forms of pain fall away. There are created in their place the forms of Ananda. That's beautiful. It's possible that the person, if you're really connected to the mother, the same triggers can come, but you're in so much peace and happiness that you're just not affected. You're just smiling as you see the play of the divine. At least once or twice you may have experienced this when you're in a very beautiful state. This is in its essence the nature of the change of consciousness, which turns existence itself into a glorified field of a divine love and Ananda. In its essence, it begins for the seeker when he passes from the ordinary to the spiritual level and looks with a new heart of luminous vision and feeling on the world and self and others. Sri Aurobindo's thoughts and aphorisms. Forgiveness is praised by the Christian and the Vaishnav. But for me, I ask, what have I to forgive and whom? Because everything is God. What will I forgive and whom will I forgive? God struck me with a human hand. God struck me with a human hand. Shall I say then, I pardon thee thy insolence, O God? God gave me good in a blow. Shall I say, I forgive thee, Almighty One, the harm and the cruelty, but do it not again? So, if we remember that all is God, we actually transcend the need to forgive. You need to forgive only when you're holding a grudge, right? If you've been hurt in the first place, then you need to work on yourself to forgive. But if you're really seeing everything as a realm of God, then there's instantaneous forgiveness. In the moment you see, okay, this is mother playing with me. I've caught you behind your mask. I'm not going to take this play very seriously. And I'm not hurt in the first place. See, if actually it would happen that people in the ashram would get hurt by the mother also, but by and large not. There's a beautiful story of Nirodha where once he told the mother, I don't want to do the compulsory march past because I'd rather be doing other things. And suddenly it was like Mahakali came out of mother and she told him, you have to have discipline, and I don't remember her exact words, but he said, I felt such a strong force hitting me that after that day I never missed a single march past. And if you went to the playground, even when he was 100, he was part of the march past. She changed something in him forever with that hit, because he had the purity to not think, oh, mother doesn't understand me. Mother, I mean, he had that faith that mother cannot say anything wrong. So if you have that faith, then whatever the person does, okay, my logical mind is saying it's uncalled for. And yes, at one level it is uncalled for. But I also remember that the mother is using this person's mind to give me the experience I need, to reduce my reactivity, to take me within. Am I making use of that experience, or am I just wasting energies repeating the same cycles of jealousy or resentment or anger or whatever it is? When am I going to break those cycles? That's the real question. So now this was part 1, which was about freedom from pain. Now we come to the mother's action in giving us this access to freedom from pain. That's part 2 of our talk. So I'm reading from Letters on the Mother. There is the utility of this is by Sri Aurobindo. There is the utility of the physical approach to the mother, the approach of the embodied mind and vital to her embodied power. In her universal action, the mother acts according to the law of things. In her embodied physical action is the opportunity of a constant grace. It is for that that the embodiment takes place. So, Sri Aurobindo is speaking about really the heart of his yoga. He's saying Adi Shakti, the Divine Mother, is as ancient and more ancient than the world. And in a general way, the grace of the Adi Shakti is working on everything all the time, right? But Mother says that when I was in my formless aspect, I was working for 900 years on the occult plane to create a body that could hold my force. So it is great grace that has given us the form of the mother, and she has come down with all the powers of the Adi Shakti as an embodiment. And she once said that yes, you've been asked to concentrate on the divine, but sometimes you can't. But you have me, you have my form. Concentrate on me and you'll be concentrating on the deepest truths of the divine. That's the importance of Mother's embodiment on earth. So Sri Aurobindo is saying, yes, you can open to the divine in a general way and you receive grace. But when you open to the mother in the embodied form, it's an occasion of constant and special grace. Okay? So I'm reading his words again. There is the utility of the physical approach to the mother, the approach of the embodied mind and vital to her embodied power, her power in this body. In her universal action, the mother acts according to the law of things. In her embodied physical action, embodied as this mother, is the opportunity of a constant grace. It is for that that the embodiment takes place. Question: Is there any law of the working of the mother's grace? Why does the mother in her universal action act according to the law of things, but in her embodied physical by constant grace? So the sadhak asked that in her universal action, why does she follow the law of karma, law of cause and effect, maintaining that order, but in her embodied physical by constant grace? Answer by Sri Aurobindo: it is the work of the cosmic power to maintain the cosmos and the law of the cosmos, transforming it by a slow evolution. The greater transformation comes from the transcendent above the universe, and it is the transcendent grace which the embodiment of the mother is there to bring into action. Understood? Clear? Any questions about this? So he's reiterating that as a universal formless power, the mother is maintaining the order in the universe. But in her coming down in a body here, she has brought the transcendence that can cut through the law, change the law of the universe, change the laws of karma. If the laws of karma could not be changed, evolution would be very, very slow. But when grace intervenes to change the laws of karma, there is accelerated evolution. And that's the definition of Sri Aurobindo's integral yoga. It's accelerated evolution. And mother is the catalyst for this accelerated evolution. Catalyst is a chemical which speeds up the rate of a chemical reaction. So mother is the catalyst of our yoga in her embodied form. So Sri Aurobindo says somewhere that yes, you can concentrate in your heart on the light, etc. within. But he's saying you open to a very special grace when you concentrate in your heart in the mother's form, because that form has brought a very, very special grace to earth, and humanity has to access that grace. So he greatly encourages concentrating on the mother's form in the heart. Maheshwari, Mahakali, Mahalakshmi, Mahasaraswati. Yesterday night I saw Maheshwari, a sadhak says, yesterday night I saw Maheshwari above my head, Mahakali in my vital being, and Mahalakshmi seated in my mind and heart. Each one radiated a different light from her body. Then I saw a few subtle powers descending into my being. Sri Aurobindo writes, Maheshwari's natural place is in the higher consciousness above the mind. Maheshwari is mother's aspect of wisdom. So Maheshwari's natural place is here above the head, for she is the wideness and largeness and wisdom of the divine. Mahakali acts mostly naturally through the higher vital, which is the instrument of force and power. Mahalakshmi acts through the heart, through the psychic being. It is in your case at present she is acting through the mind also, though that is less usual, and ordinarily it is Mahasaraswati. So Sri Aurobindo is saying, in broad terms, Maheshwari acts above the head. Mahasaraswati, which is mother's aspect of perfection, working out, perfecting aspects of creation, perfection and execution, she works in the mind. Mahakali in the higher vital, and Mahalakshmi in the heart. These are where she generally works. Now the reason for their embodiment. The supramental embodiment of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. Why have they come down in a body on earth? That's what this passage is about. The supramental creation since it is to be a creation upon earth, must be not only an inner change, but a physical and external manifestation also. So all the other yogas, whether we see the Buddha or any other avatar, they had great changes within, but nothing changed in their outer body. They were subject to the same laws of aging, death and decay. But in the supramental creation, this must not be so. There has to be a physical and external manifestation also. And it is precisely for this part of the work, the most difficult of all, that surrender is most needful. For this reason, that it is the actual descent of the supramental divine into matter and the working of the divine presence and power there that can alone make the physical and external change possible. Even if the most powerful self-assertion of human will and endeavor, even the most powerful self-assertion of human will and endeavor is impotent to bring it about. As for the egoistic insistence and the vital revolt, they are, so long as they last, insuperable obstacles to the descent. Only a calm, pure and surrendered physical consciousness, full of the psychic aspiration, can be its field. This alone can make an effective opening of the material being to the light and power and supramental change, a thing actual and practicable. Here's the key: a calm, pure and surrendered physical consciousness. Often we have a lot of agitation in our physical consciousness, restlessness, we keep wanting to move. So it's very important to do body work in any form to make the body calm and receptive to light. Only a calm, pure and surrendered physical consciousness, full of the psychic aspiration, can be its field. This alone can make an effective opening of the material being to the light and power and the supramental change, a thing actual and practical. It's not enough to be receptive in our mind and emotions also. We have to work on the body consciousness to make the body consciousness calm and quiet and full of aspiration to the light. It's interesting, there's a beautiful red flower which Mother has called opening in matter to the light. So flowers have these names, she gave significances to flowers. It is for this that we are here in the body, and it is for this that you and other sadhaks are in the ashram near us. But it is not by insistence on petty demands and satisfactions in the external field, or an outer nearness pleasing to the vital nature and its pride or desire, that you can get the true relation with the divine. In this province, if you want the realization there, it is the true nearness that you must seek. The descent and presence of the Mother in your physical consciousness, her constant inner touch in the physical being and its activities, her will and knowledge behind all its work and thought and movement, and the ever-present Ananda of that presence, expelling all vital and physical separateness, craving and desire. If you have that, then you have all the nearness you can ask for, and the rest you will gladly leave to the Mother's knowledge and will to decide. For with this in you, there can be no feeling of being kept away, no sense of gulf and distance, no complaint of a unity that is lacking, or an empty dryness and denial of nearness. Now Sri Aurobindo gives us concrete steps to follow and necessities in his yoga. The first step is a quiet mind makes the consciousness easier. So the first step is to do whatever it takes to slow down the jumpings of the mind. Whether it's pranayam, whether it's being in nature, do whatever it takes to first make the mind quiet. If you keep a quiet mind and a constant contact with myself and the mother and the true light and force, then things will become easy and straight. It is the only way to get the realization. The key word is constant contact with myself and the mother. So if you keep a quiet mind and a constant contact with the mother and Sri Aurobindo, then things will become easy and straight. It is the only way to get the realization. It is a mistake to think that this method will not lead you to the supramental realization. It is the only way to advance towards supramental change. It is because you have become doubtful and begin to follow after other ways and other lower experiences that you get again confused and full of incertitudes. Keep to one way, the way shown to you by me. So he is demanding here a certain fidelity to the Guru, and he talks about it. See, when you're not really anchored in him, it's allowed to go to 100 other ways and do 100 other things, and they prepare your being. But once your being is prepared and you've come to him, if you dig little here, then leave it, dig little here, then you won't reach water, no? You're digging the ground to reach water. So if you keep digging here, 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 you won't dig deep enough to reach the water. So he's saying, then once you're convinced that we are your path, then don't run around here and there. Then fidelity to the Guru is demanded. Then stick to the path and follow the way we've shown you. Keep to one way, the way shown to you by me. It is by following this way that you can reach the wideness you want. If you run about on many ways, that will bring not wideness but confusion. So, you know, in my very early days when I just come to Mother and Sri Aurobindo, of course, like many seekers, I had explored many things, many forms of physical culture, many forms of breath work, many forms of Buddhism, you name it. And I was very attracted to Mother and Sri Aurobindo, but I found what they said, concentrate on, like Sri Aurobindo has only given us one way of meditation, right? To concentrate on him or the mother in the heart or overhead. And I kept thinking, but how will that help to quieten my mind? I need to do so many pranayams, I need to do so much of this, so much of that. And that was a question that kept in my mind, but he answers all questions. One day, I read something of Sri Aurobindo, I don't remember the exact words, but it was to the effect that the mother is the supreme divine consciousness. We think supreme divine consciousness is infinite peace, formless beatitude, etc., etc. But it's one time in the history of earth that this infinite peace, formless beatitude has actually worn a face and made itself visible to us. And he says that by concentrating on the mother, you can get the highest possible spiritual realizations. That solved a great, because otherwise you think concentrating on a face, however beautiful it is, how can it do things? But of course it does. And as you practice on it, you realize that it more than does things. You start by focusing on her image. Later on the image may even drop or it may stay. But you open to better and better regions inside yourself, and you come out of the practice so much of a better version of yourself. So in time to come, I saw the truth of what Sri Aurobindo had written, that by concentrating on the mother, you actually open yourself to the highest of spiritual realizations. And once you found that, make it your anchor. Don't run around here and there. You scatter her force. You scatter what she wants to give you. Not that she has a problem, not that, we think the divine isn't possessive about us, not at all. In fact, Mother was known to send Satprem to this guru or that guru if she felt it was useful to him. But there comes a point when it's not useful to run around here and there. And we should recognize that point and invest all our time in deepening our anchoring in them. Yes?
Like concentration on Mother and Sri Aurobindo's writings will give a lot of force and peace.
Yes, of course. That's why I try to talk very little and I try to read what they are saying, because my words won't give you an infinitesimal bit as much as what their words will.
So that there are 50 booklets, in centenary edition, and all these are on different topics and all are very interesting. All should
You
read
can
all these
read
booklets.
anything of the Mother and Sri Aurobindo, because I feel they will place the right book in your hand. You be open to it, the book you need to read will come to you. Now this bit is called Faithfulness to the Light and the Call. When I speak of being faithful to the light of the soul and the divine call, I was not Sri Aurobindo's words, letters on the Mother. When I spoke of being faithful to the light of the soul and the divine call, I was not referring to anything in the past or to any lapse on your part. I was simply suggesting the great need in all crises and attacks to refuse to listen to any suggestions, impulses, lures, and to oppose to them all the call of the truth, the imperative beckoning of the light, in all doubt and depression to say, I belong to the divine, I cannot fail. To any suggestion of impurity and unfitness to reply, I am a child of immortality, chosen by Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. I have but to be true to myself and to them. The victory is sure. Even if I fall, I would be sure to rise again. Such a beautiful affirmation they've given us. We all identify ourselves as so-and-so's wife, so-and-so's mother, so-and-so's child, and that's why we suffer. If I have a very strong identity in being so-and-so's mother, then when that identity is flattered by that child making me proud or making me happy, I am happy. But when that identity is threatened, when the child opposes me or the child does something I'm not very proud of, that identity threatened becomes unhappiness. But suppose my biggest identity is I'm a child of immortality, chosen by Mother and Sri Aurobindo. What a profound identity to have. I'm a child of immortality, chosen by Mother and Sri Aurobindo. I am bound to succeed, period. And that's where we have to get our identity, because it's the only real identity we have. This is the greatest truth. This is the truth. This alone can satisfy the soul within me. I will endure through all tests and tribulations to the very end of the divine journey. This is what I mean by faithfulness to the light and the call. Now, this is again Letters on the Mother by Sri Aurobindo. Your psychic being is capable of giving itself to the Mother and living and growing in the truth. But your lower vital being has been full of attachments and samskaras, and an impure movement of desire, and your external mind was not able to shake off its ignorant ideas and habits and open to the truth. That was the reason why you were unable to progress, because you were keeping up an element and movements which could not be allowed to remain, for they were the exact opposite of what has to be established in a divine life. The mother can only free you from these things if you really want it, not only in your psychic being, but in your physical mind and all your vital nature. He's saying a very important thing here. He's saying that, in our psychic being, many of us can give ourselves to the mother, but our vital is full of attachment to people. The vital, instead of giving itself to the mother, gives itself to other people. And that is the cause of our trouble. And Sri Aurobindo says that is the reason you were not able to progress. That's the reason why you were unable to progress, because he's telling a sadhak to whom the letter was written, because you were keeping an element and movements which could not be allowed to remain, for they were the exact opposite of what has to be established in a divine life. Now, what are these movements which we have to get rid of? Because if we want to be established in divine life, we cannot live with these movements. A fundamental such movement is attachment, right? And we find nothing wrong in attachment to our loved ones, because we feel that's what love is, neediness, attachment. But believe me, attachment is always a curse. It's never a blessing. And where there's attachment, there's never love. It's just need. When you really love, there's zero attachment. You just want the person to be happy, and you're not so bothered whether the person is giving you back. You're not keeping an account. I did so much for you and this is how you treat me. If that's the narrative in your mind, be sure it's attachment, it's not love. If it's really love, there'll be no keeping of accounts. There'll just be a flowering in you, a joy in the person's being. You'll do everything for that person without expecting anything in return. The moment you expect something in return, it's attachment. And these human attachments we have to somewhere let go of if we want to be anchored in the divine life. And it's not easy at all. And we can't think our way out of attachments. It's impossible. You can hear all this, it appeals to your mind, but you're helplessly caught in the attachment. The only thing that can help to free you from this attachment is when you open to the mother's light and force. In the moment of feeling that strong urge, I need that person's message, I need that person's call, I need to spend time with that person. In the moment of that strong clinging, instead of reaching out for the person or the phone, sit down, reach out for the mother. Do whatever, write her a letter, try to feel her presence. But you should actually want to give away this attachment. The mother cannot take it away from you if you don't want to give it away. See, there was a beautiful anecdote I read. Once Sri Aurobindo was asked that if you saw a person drowning and you were sitting, would you not reach out and help the person? So Sri Aurobindo replied, no, not unless the person wanted to be saved. So unless we want to give away the attachment, mother can't take it away. It boils down to this: do I want the mother or do I want the person I'm attached to? And as long as I want the person more, I will go on suffering, because the design of life is such that I'm not meant to want a person more. My constant inner aspiration is, but I want the light more, but I want the mother more. Until that doesn't become a truth of my being, I am not established in divine life. I am established in ignorance, and wherever there is ignorance, there suffering too must come. The mother can only free you from these things if you really want it. Not only in your psychic being, but in your physical mind and all your vital nature. The sign will be that you no longer cherish or insist on your personal notions, attachments, or desires, and that whatever the distance or whatever you may be, you will feel yourself open and the power and presence of the mother with you, working in you, and you will be contented, quiet, confident, wanting nothing else, awaiting always the mother's will. What a beautiful state to be in, to be contented, quiet, confident, wanting nothing else, awaiting the mother's will. Now, this is a little bit mother's words. Mother says, I have experienced all kinds of things in life, but I have always felt a sort of light, so intangible, so perfectly pure, not in the moral sense, but pure light. And it could go anywhere, mixed everywhere without ever getting mixed with anything. I felt the flame as a young child, a white flame, and never have I felt disgust, contempt, recoil, the sense of being dirtied by anything or anyone. There was always this white flame, so white that nothing could make it other than white. So beautiful. Mother's a role model for us. The whole theme of our talk was freedom from pain, and we said that we can only be free of pain when we are in touch with something inside us which is never altered by whatever life throws at us. And we see this in mother's life. Mother wasn't actually born into a very simple, happy family. I've read in previous classes that though she loved her brother had a violent temper, and sometimes so violent that he almost killed her. And her mother said that, mother's mother said that next time you will kill her if you do this. Kill little Meera. And that's when Matteo suddenly realized, what am I doing? And he never raised his hand. She had a mother who was constantly critical, who would constantly tell her, never listen to her emotions. And mother had chosen these parents for herself. And she said that when I looked at the world, I was in a state of constant stupor. What, human beings are like this? People are like this? But in this passage she said, although that was my surrounding, I always had this light inside me, a pure white light, which was incapable of being sullied by anything, which was incapable of being hurt by anything. So I'm reading it again. And every avatar comes down to earth to show us what we have to grow into. So, I have experienced all kinds of things in life. Of course, she has, worse than what we have. But I have always felt a sort of light, so intangible, so perfectly pure, not in the moral sense, but pure light. And it could go anywhere, mix everywhere without ever getting mixed with anything. It could never be contaminated by anything. I felt the flame as a young child, a white flame, and never have I felt disgust, contempt, or recoil. God knows human beings gave her enough reason to feel disgust, contempt, or recoil. But she never felt that. We find in Mother nature which had transcended the need to forgive. She never felt disgust, recoil towards anyone. And God, if you read about her life, the amount of insult and ill will that has been thrown on her, but she means it when she says, I have never felt disgust, contempt, recoil, the sense of being dirtied by anything or anyone. There was always this flame white, so white that nothing could make it other than white. And if we have the Mother within us, all of us have this white flame so white that nothing can ever make it other than white. But we have to discover it. Please come. So now lines from Savitri describing the Mother. So this is when Ashwapati was granted the boon that the Divine Mother will be born on earth, and this is a description of the one who would come to earth. Beauty shall walk celestial on the earth. Celestial is heavenly, so heavenly beauty will come down and walk on earth. Delight shall sleep in the cloud net of her hair. So beautiful. Her hair will be like a cloud net in which delight shall sleep. And in her body, as on his homing tree, immortal love shall beat his glorious wings. So her body will be like a tree on which immortal love will beat his wings. I told you Sri Aurobindo paints with words. You can actually imagine Mother, her hair a cloud net of delight, her body a tree in which the bird of love is resting. A music of griefless things shall weave her charm. So her whole charm will be this white flame which is incapable of grief. We just read about it. A music of griefless things shall weave her charm. The harps of the perfect shall attune her voice. The streams of heaven shall murmur in her laugh. Harps of the perfect shall attune in her voice, as if in her voice harps of heaven will play. And streams of heaven will laugh when she laughs, will murmur in her laugh. Her lips shall be honeycombs of God. A honeycomb is very sweet. Her lips shall be honeycombs of God. Her limbs is golden jars of ecstasy. Every part is a poetry. Mother is a divine poetry herself. Her breasts the rapture flowers of paradise. She shall bear wisdom. See, here he says her breasts the rapture flowers of paradise in a very metaphorical way. Somewhere else in Savitri, he writes, as might fly a soul like a hunted bird with tired wings from a world of storm, and a quiet reach like a remembered breast. Again, so it's like when we don't find Mother, we are like that hunted bird. We feel hunted by everything. We feel we have to keep doing to survive, or we'll get hunted down by life. But when we find the Mother, it's like we find a remembered breast. The bird can stop flapping its tired wings and just lay down and be assured that it will be looked after. So as might fly a soul like a hunted bird with tired wings, escaping a world of storms, and a quiet reach like a remembered breast in a haven of safety and splendid soft repose. So here he is referring again to that remembered breast. Her breast the rapture flowers of paradise. She shall bear wisdom in her voiceless bosom. Strength shall be with her like a conqueror's sword. She is referred to as the mighty Mother, the all-powerful Mother. And from her eyes the eternal's bliss shall gaze. Looking into her eyes, and this is all our experience, no? I think all of us must have had our own experience with the Mother's eyes. In every picture, and bliss, and from her eyes the eternal's bliss shall gaze. A seed shall be sown in death's tremendous hour, a branch of heaven transplant to human soil. So when the mother will be born, a branch of heaven will be transplanted on human soil. Nature shall overleap her mortal step. So because that branch of heaven will come down to heaven, to earth, it will help human nature to overleap, to go beyond her mortal step and start taking the steps of God. That's what the supramental change is all about. Fate shall be changed by an unchanging will. That's the whole point of mothers coming down, to change fate, to change the destiny of man, to remain man and become superhuman. So there's that beautiful passage in Savitri. She faced the engines of the universe. The mother faced the engines of the universe. The engines of the universe is the cosmic machinery. A heart stood before its driving wheels. Heart is mother's love. She stands, suppose the driving wheels are karma coming towards you. A heart stood before its driving wheels. A heart stood before its driving wheels. Its stark conventions met the flame of a soul. So it's saying that mother is like a love, a heart which is standing before the huge machinery of karma and forcing it to change its path. Yeah, and we've seen this umpteen times in so many people's lives, that they are destined to go a certain way which is not so pleasant, but they pray to the mother, they invoke her grace, and everything changes. So it's really true that she stood before the engines of the universe. A heart stood before its driving wheels. So that's what this is saying. Fate shall be changed by an unchanging will. So let me read this passage of Savitri. Just feel it in your heart without explanation. Beauty shall walk celestial on the earth. Delight shall sleep in the cloud net of her hair, and in her body, as on his homing tree, immortal love shall beat his glorious wings. A music of griefless things shall weave her charm. The harps of the perfect shall attune her voice. The streams of heaven shall murmur in her laugh. Her lips shall be the honeycombs of God. Her limbs his golden jars of ecstasy. Her breasts the rapture flowers of paradise. She shall bear wisdom in her voiceless bosom. Strength shall be with her like a conqueror's sword, and from her eyes the eternal's bliss shall gaze. A seed shall be sown in death's tremendous hour, a branch of heaven transplant to human soil. Nature shall overleap her mortal step. Fate shall be changed by an unchanging will. So now let's sit quiet. Any questions before we go ahead? Okay, so if there are no questions, let's sit quietly and assimilate what we've heard and think of how we can bring this into our day-to-day living. So the topic of our talk today was freedom from pain and the Supreme Mother's action in giving us access to this freedom. What really gives us pain? We think it's our interactions with people. And the more invested we are in people, the more pain sometimes we get in our interactions with them. So, how do we liberate ourselves from this pain? Sri Aurobindo says that inside us, behind the trembling ray that the surface being is, we have a presence, the Mother's presence within us, vast, calm, immutably peaceful. And the more we draw within and learn to live from this presence, the more immune we are to the pain life sends us. When our identity is with the changing surface being we are outside, that is a very fragile, easily hurt identity. When our identity is, I'm so and so's mother, then if that daughter or son behaves in ways that don't make us proud or hurt us, that identity is threatened and we are pained. But Sri Aurobindo gives us such a beautiful thing to identify with. He tells us, in all doubt and depression say, I belong to the divine, I cannot fail. I am a child of immortality chosen by Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. This is such a beautiful identity. I have but to be true to myself and to them. The victory is sure. So the more we are identified as being a child of immortality, called by the Mother and Sri Aurobindo, because if we are reaching out to them, it's because they have called us first. If that is our identity, rather than the changing identities in our outer life, then that identity is not easily wounded. Whenever we are hurt in our interactions, it's beautiful to remember that every person I'm interacting with is actually the Mother wearing a mask. It's the Mother's will in every person that makes the person behave that way with me. Then why would the Mother make the person behave rudely with me? To bring out what's inside, to change that reactivity in me. So whenever I'm hurt, instead of trying to prove the person wrong, instead of fighting the person, let me go within. Let me feel the Mother's presence, and her presence is a special grace. Sri Aurobindo says that her form in her body, if we concentrate on it in our heart, it's an opportunity of constant grace. And when we evoke that grace, often different perspectives will come out from within us, and we'll see the reason behind the pain that person gives us. And when we see the reason behind the pain, we don't suffer anymore. If ignorance caused the suffering, Sri Aurobindo says, wherever there is ignorance, there suffering too must come. Knowledge, truth sets us free of the suffering. So that's our practice through the week. Whenever pain comes, we seek to be free of it by directly involving the Supreme Mother's action in the moment of the pain. Hands together in a namaste. Take a long, slow inhalation. Breathe out with Om. Next week I'm traveling, there'll be no class.